What if this didn't happen to girls? What if there was a window in a girl's life when just the right dose of learning at the just right time could snap the downward spiral and produce a girl whose gifts were available for the rest of her life? What could this new kind of girl, an undiminished girl, a venture girl, become? I am an engineer, a nanoscientist, a professor, and an entrepreneur. So I've approached the problem in the spirit of a scientist intent on discovery. Why do some women forge ahead in science, technology, engineering, and math, the so-called STEM fields, and rise into leadership positions, while others give up? What interventions might change this pattern? What can we do that will really work? The challenge is to bring STEM to life for girls, to make it relevant to them. We can no longer afford to live in a world where more than 1/2 of the population is essentially excluded from the cutting edge. We need those brilliant minds at work. Furthermore, we can no longer cheat so many young women out of the pride and joy that come from finding a vocation in innovation. It's critical for our girls and for our future as a society to attract girls to the STEM fields and to create a world where both men and women actively participate in building the future. Through my experiences, I have found that the key to lifting up the next generation of girls is to blend STEM with entrepreneurship. And we can't just teach girls. We must teach boys at the same time so that they understand that girls are equally capable of achievement, creativity, and leadership. I believe in this approach because I'm a product of it. I've experienced how empowering and fulfilling technology and entrepreneurship can be. Ever since I was a kid, I've loved building things and taking things apart to figure out how they worked. I remember as a child picking up a screwdriver and taking apart my family's mustard yellow rotary telephone to see what made it work. If you don't remember what a rotary telephone was, it had lots of gears and moving parts. I found the dozens of parts inside the phone pretty amazing. At first, my parents were upset. In those days before cell phones and email, the home phone was a family's only means of communication. But here's the extraordinary thing. Rather than scolding me and stifling my excitement, they let me experiment. They tried to explain how the phone worked and then helped me put it back together. My parents' approach to life was about curiosity and unfettered expression. More important, they were not focused on what I should and shouldn't do as a girl. My father himself had overcome difficult times. He grew up on the streets in Mexico, not knowing where his next meal would come from. His parents both had only elementary school educations, and his dad died when my father was young. When his shoes became torn, he would put cardboard in them to cover the holes. Nonetheless, he had the drive, ambition, and fearlessness he needed to make a better world for himself. Penniless and knowing little English, he came to the United States to study, and that is where I was born. I was raised to do anything a boy could do. My Sunday dress was just that. The rest of the week, I was free to play in the mud or tinker with broken appliances in the garage. It was a hands-on childhood that included cardboard imaginary castles, G.I. Joes, and Legos. Back then, girls were more likely to be given pink toys, miniature stoves, irons, and Barbie dolls to play with instead. But my sisters and I were allowed to get messy, dirty, and greasy. If we wanted a tree house or even a dollhouse, we watched our dad build it and helped him. We were highly involved in sports, and our dad taught us everything from electrical wiring to tiling floors to changing brake pads in the car, and we loved it. We often joked that our dad treated us like boys because he wished he'd had some sons too, but we shouldn't have. Today, studies show that by playing with those stereotyped boy toys at an early age, we girls were developing the spatial relation skills we'd need for our education and future careers in STEM. Dad encouraged us in math and science, often bringing home science and electronics kits. If we had trouble with math in school, instead of telling us that maybe it just wasn't for us, he would get